Hello, and thanks for joining us for the Farming Today podcast. I'm Kaz Graham, and in this edition, calls to replace half of fruit and vegetable imports with homegrown produce from an environmental think tank. Is it realistic? And battling Bluetongue, the farmers at the sharp end of this livestock disease.
The last week, I dreaded going out in the morning because I just what am I going to find? It's been horrible.
We'll have more from that farmer in Devon shortly. But first, vitamin B12 is essential for our diets. It's found in meat, in fish, eggs and dairy produce, but not in plants, or not until now, that is. Scientists have developed a way of fortifying pea shoots with B12 and hope to get them into supermarket salad bags in the next year or two. After successful trials, agri-tech company Let Us Grow and the John Innes Centre believe that it could work for other crops too. B12 is expensive, but Jack Farmer, the chief scientific officer with Let Us Grow, says that they've developed a very efficient way of getting it into the pea shoots. Well, we're talking about salad crops all this week, so we sent our reporter Rebecca Rooney to their R&D farm in Bristol to find out more.
Okay, so let's just go into the farm here. I'll just put a lab coat on.
You can smell the fresh salad.
Yes, you can, yeah. The lovely thing about working in fresh produce, it smells lovely, really.
So we're going to go into a room that is full of a luminous pink light.
This is one of our R&D test chambers. This is where we prototype and test our aeroponic systems. This one here in particular is growing spinach right now, but in the B12 fortification trial we would have been growing pea shoots, which was a really good target crop for us as a fast-growing, very hungry plant.
What's aeroponics?
It's basically a method for watering plants. We pipe the water and nutrients to their roots, but then instead of saturating those crops like you would in a hydroponic system, which is kind of growing without soil, we use high-frequency sound waves to turn that into a mist. You can actually hear the trickling water in there. So as you can see here, there's a kind of a cloud enveloping those roots.
So you've just lifted up this tray of spinach. You can see the matted roots, but when you lift it up, it looks like dry ice. There's mist everywhere.
And you can see these really kind of fluffy lateral roots here. It's almost like a cloud coming out of the roots themselves. That's basically the plant's response to this mist, really high oxygen environment. And it's a really efficient way of getting water and nutrients to a crop without compromising its ability to breathe through its roots, which often can be what slows a plant down or maybe introduces disease in a kind of a glasshouse system. So the value of this kind of system in the application of B12 is that it acts as basically a big inhaler. So a very small amount of B12 applied as part of the fertilizer basically will spread really efficiently throughout all those different plants. And it's much more efficient than diluting it into a big tank of water. So that's why aeroponics is so interesting. You can basically get a very small amount of expensive B12 and apply it to a load of salads in a way that actually makes commercial sense.
Professor Anthony Dodd and Dr. Bethany Aldridge led the project for the John Innes Centre.
The plants look the same. To our knowledge, they taste the same, and it doesn't change the shelf life. But they do contain the recommended daily allowance of vitamin B12.
If you're fortifying a food like this, do you have to get a license to do that? Are you fundamentally tampering, with the makeup of the plant? What are the regulations around it?
The plants are not fortified through a genetic modification process. Instead, we're using different kinds of growing technology to enable the plants to accumulate the vitamin B12. So the product that we've developed doesn't involve any restrictions or regulations related to genetically modified or gene-edited food products.
Will this really be economically viable?
So the crude economic modelling that we've done has shown that to fortify a portion of pea shoots that someone might consume as part of, a nutritious diet would cost less than a penny. So we're trying to look at that in terms of what's the cost of what we might be able to do with plants to diversify the ways in which we can get B12 into our diets as part of natural food consumption versus something like the cost of a B12 supplement tablet, which is around that benchmark. We're really lucky actually that pea shoots were like little sponges for B12, which was a big surprise to us. But this method could be incredibly commercially versatile because it could be put into cheaper systems, glass houses being the major one here.
Oh, fascinating stuff. That's Dr. Bethany Eldridge. Now, as we've been hearing all through this week, we do grow a decent amount of salad produce in the UK. But we still import more than 80% of fresh tomatoes and more than 50% of lettuce. Analysis being published later this morning by the environmental think tank Green Alliance suggests that if, and it's a big if, the UK replaces half of fruit and vegetable imports with homegrown produce, it would generate nearly £2 billion for the economy and make us more self-sufficient in food production than we've been for the last 25 years. The government is currently developing a horticulture growth plan as part of its farming roadmap. It says this will improve productivity, profitability and food security. Well, I've been hearing from Katie Jones, the report's main author, who says that ramping up domestic production on this kind of scale is possible.
It can be expanded particularly through glasshouse production. Glasshouses are particularly land use and water use efficient. It's a way that we can scale up production rapidly within the confines of the UK's land. Obviously, we have a lot of competing uses. Agriculture and food production is just one of them.
You know, it's very expensive to set up a glasshouse operation. Where is this money going to come from?
So we're not suggesting that the government should be putting their money directly into subsidising glasshouses. There's already a lot of ongoing investment in new sort of state-of-the-art innovative glasshouses in the UK. But more support for the running costs of them is needed, and confidence in where they can be located in the UK, confidence that the government wants to see more of them. The horticulture sector in general has been in decline since 2015. Part of that in terms of glasshouse production has been because of really volatile and high energy costs. Most of the sector currently runs on gas-powered heating systems. So one thing that the government can be doing in terms of glasshouses is supporting access to reliable and affordable renewable power as a way of stabilising costs so that there's confidence to invest and production is profitable for producers in the UK.
Horticulture isn't currently included in the government's industrial strategy as an intensive energy industry, and they qualify for support around their energy costs. Do you think that needs to change?
Yes, so by recognising it as an energy-intensive industry, it can have access to the clean energy initiatives to stabilise energy costs and to bring them down to aid, and this can essentially ease the transition to electricity, essentially, rather than the gas-powered systems that we're currently seeing.
Is this expansion of horticulture really practical, though? I mean, we've been reporting for the last month on the difficulties that farmers are facing because of a lack of rain. A lot of these crops need irrigation, don't they? How will the water be managed?
Glasshouses can use up to 90% less water than in-field production, and they're highly productive. We can be producing higher volumes of food, things like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, using less water, using water efficiently and having water stored. It's not that the UK doesn't have enough water, it's that we don't store it when it's available.
It's a very fine ambition, the idea of replacing half of fruit and vegetable imports with homegrown produce. But is it realistic?
We know that glasshouse systems are extremely efficient. They can produce 10 to 20 times more food than in-field systems, use 90% less water. So they're really a key tool for having resilience in the food system moving forward. So through having things like a spatial strategy for mapping out where glasshouses could be located in the UK, there's huge opportunities for co-locating with industries that would provide essentially waste energy and heat that the sector could be using. By mapping that out, we can really capitalise on the opportunities and scale up to the level of ambition that we want to see.
Katie Jones from Green Alliance. Now, Bluetongue is the livestock disease that's transmitted by midges that affects farm animals, including sheep and cattle. It doesn't affect people, but it can be very painful and fatal to the livestock that get it. As we've been reporting, it's really taken hold in the southwest of England, and now it's gradually spreading into other parts of the UK, with cases confirmed in Dumfries and Galloway, Cheshire, Staffordshire and Powys. Annual Bluetongue statistics are counted from July through to the next June, the so-called Bluetongue season. Since the end of June this year, there have already been more cases than in the whole of the previous season. Hundreds of farmers in Devon, Cornwall and Somerset are coping with the virus in their sheep in particular. Sarah Swadling has been to meet Jerry Sanders Carr on his farm just south of Exeter, where his flock is just beginning to emerge from a bout of Bluetongue.
They're all seeking shade
Yeah.
under the trees in the hedge line there. The grass is really crispy.
Yeah, and this is probably the greenest bit we've got. Yeah, they've been on winter rations for over a month now, but yeah, they're still in reasonable shape. And I think that's helped with the Bluetongue situation, where they've been in reasonable fettle and they can fight the infection a little bit better. They're all off.
They're all off. We've disturbed them slightly and they're cantering off across the field.
A week ago, if we'd been out here, they wouldn't have moved like that. They were sluggish, they weren't interested in moving, whereas now, you'd struggle to catch them now. We are on the right side of it now, thank God.
What was the timeline then of Bluetongue for you?
I think it arrived here probably 3 weeks ago. It was just the odd ewe that was off colour and the odd ewe that was dying, which we put down to maybe homuncus or heat stress, on just the stress of drought. And we weren't seeing the classic, what everyone was thinking of was drooling mouths and snotty noses. But then it became very obvious. One morning we found a ewe with the classic standing there with drooling mouth, and that was it, right, we've got it. So we then vaccinated, so Thursday coming, that'll be 2 weeks ago.
When you were starting to see symptoms, that was at a point when the confirmed cases were not yet in this area?
No, exactly. It was all North Devon, North Cornwall. And so we were all looking at the map, going, it's all up there. The prevailing wind is blowing to them from us. And I had ordered the vaccine. So luckily the vaccine turned up relatively quick and we just got on and vaccinated.
But you had sheep that fell sick with Bluetongue after you'd vaccinated. Not because the vaccine wasn't working, just to be clear, but just because they'd probably been incubating it.
Exactly, yeah. My vet were very clear. They're saying, don't worry about vaccinating while there's illness in the flock. Just get on and vaccinate, because you're going to get some cover relatively quickly.
Are you starting to see that the vaccine is making a difference?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. A week ago I was treating 40 animals a day. I've treated one today. Yes, sure, the manufacturers say 3 weeks for full immunity, but we're definitely seeing a positive impact now.
How has it been in terms of the pressure that it's heaped on your shoulders?
Normally this time of year, going around the ewes, they're all settled, they've all been weaned, and they're not doing much, they're just enjoying life. It was always a pleasure to go around in the morning and see the sheep. The last week, I dreaded going out in the morning, because I just like, what am I going to find? And then the effort of catching all those sheep and treating them and jabbing them. So no, it's been horrible. But I will also say that there's been huge support. There's been lots of farmers, we were all talking to each other, whether it be via WhatsApp or we're ringing each other. And that's been really good. In
the end, how many sheep did you lose that either died or you had to put down?
I think so far it's been about 35. The ewe flock is about 450, so not quite 10%. In terms of treatment, we've treated way over 200.
How much do you think it's cost you in lost stock, in disposing of stock that has died, in vaccination, in medicines?
It's close to £10,000 now. I think the big hit is the loss in breeding stock. I don't know what those replacement costs are going to be yet. And I don't know what the impact is going to be on lambing and future income. Talking to the vets, there's potential that the rams are going to be infertile between 2, maybe up to 3 months. And you can't pick up that infertility in a normal fertility test. I sell breeding rams as well, and I can't honestly sell rams at the moment because I don't know if they're fertile. It's not fair on my customers. I lamb in the middle of February, so my rams have actually got a little bit of time to recover, so we're hoping they will be okay.
Jerry Sanders Carr in Devon. And that is all from us for today. I'm Kaz Graham. The producer is Rebecca Rooney, and Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.